Hello, welcome back to Mega Manga Monday. I am Jason Hahn, and we are back with a brand new format. Very excited visual podcast, and I got some buddies with me to talk about the newest chapters and newest happenings of My Hero Academia, Chainsaw Man, and One Piece. In that order, our new format. If you are, a previous listener coming back. We're going to have it all be one episode that actually comes out on Mondays. And we're going to dedicate about 15 to 30 minutes, depending how much we have to say about it, to each new chapter that we want to talk about. And then we'll move on to the next thing. So if you're curious to listen to one of those topics rather than all of them, go ahead and check out in the description. I'll go ahead and put what times we're going to start talking about each individual chapter. But I am Jason Hahn, creator of Mega Manga Monday, and also YouTube Honzy and Friends and Screen Rant writer. I'm starting to write for anime now, which is very fun and exciting. But I'm also doing game reviews and interviews and stuff like that. So keep them busy. But I'll go ahead and let my buddies introduce themselves before we dive into My Hero Academia. But Carlyle, how you doing today, bud?
Hey, I'm Carlyle Edmundson. I'm another writer at Screen Rant, also in the anime department, and I have indie dev down there now, also as well. I am working on a visual novel called Elven Revenue Service.
Absolutely. Pretty exciting stuff about that. I just got a message from our editor, but that can deal with later. Steven, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, my name's Stephen Blackburn, and I'm a writer for the anime manga comics side, as well as interviews when some cool ones come down the line. But yeah, I'm here. And also Black Clover enjoyer, as you can see.
His main claim to fame.
Yeah.
Yeah. And behind that brilliant quip, we've got Ben. Ben, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm Ben. I'm a writer for Screen Rant as well. And I also have a YouTube channel of my own called YGO from Zero, where I go over historical formats of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. So, Screen Rant writer, YouTuber in the headline. Yeah, that's me.
It's all official, gentlemen. We made it.
Oh, yeah.
We'll kind of dive right in. I'm more of a, I enjoy a lot of different shonen things, which is why we've started the podcast. But we've done previous episodes where we've talked about Dragon Ball Super, Berserk, even a little bit, all kinds of stuff. But you can find all of those on our YouTube channel as well. But today, I think we'll go ahead and start talking about My Hero Academia. The latest chapter was chapter 379, officially titled Hopes. It's been a few weeks since we've been able to talk My Hero Academia, but a lot's been happening. And for me, I squealed like an excited little boy when Gentle Criminal came back onto the scene. I was a huge fan of him back in, especially after the anime adapted it. I just really like the character. La Brava a little less so. But also Lady Nagant came back.
And that's what I'm all about.
I know some of you guys were very excited about that too. But for me, the glow up of Gentle Criminal, I mean, he turned into kind of from a gag criminal who found an interesting way to use his quirks, to not only keeping everybody alive right now and keeping all of UA elevated with his powers, but he also prevented an entire prison break by pretty much doing a whole thing of plastic or whatever you want to call his abilities and keeping them all down there. And just dude has trained up in prison, which I thought was really, really cool to see. But those are the two things about the latest My Hero Academia stuff that I got very excited about. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on them.
Well, on the topic of Gentle, they also casually dropped a little feed of his in the previous chapter where he, his prison was the only prison with no escapees because he stopped all of them, which was a pretty cool thing as well.
Very cool. And I like the panel. I had to zoom in a little bit, but you can actually see all the villains stuck up against the wall and stuff like that. It's amazing. I mean, especially just the impact that Deku had on him and Lady Nagant. Like, and
Lady Nagant.
All right, you want to talk about her? What?
No, I mean, I'll just say, I mean, she was instantly one of my favorite characters when she came back. Well, a couple of chapters. I don't even remember. Like, it was the 330s, I think. Just I loved her character, loved her backstory. I mean, it was during that weird time in My Hero when they were just introducing all these random characters. Like, there was her, and then after Lady Nagant, then there was Star and Stripe, and then she left. So it was like we got these awesome characters, and then they took them away from us. So I'm just really glad that Lady Nagant is back. I mean, and right now, it seems like, I mean, she's getting a lot of crazy death flags right now, which is kind of sad. But at the same time, I'm happy that it's going this route because her story was really tragic. And if things keep going as they seem to be going, then it'll be quite even more tragic. So I'm just really, really happy to see her back. She's great.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed. I've got the chapter up on my screen right now. I'm not to the level of nerdom where I'm just like, oh yeah, well, on chapter blah blah blah, page 2, she did this. But on chapter 379, page 6. We get this amazing, like, it's only done in 3 panels, but Horikoshi like pretty much gives you a whole like snapshot of her life. Like, it first starts with her being like all starry-eyed, quite literally, young schoolgirl with the hopes and dreams, and then we get like her awesome character design from back when she was at the height of her like hero career, essentially. And then we get like the bloodied, brutal, focused new version of her. It's just all in one page. He summarized this character brilliantly, and I really, really enjoyed some of that art, but especially the shot of her on the roof with the blood just like spraying out of her, because I wasn't sure if that was all just from the impact of her shot, or it's just the rain and everything is so brutal, and it's just a combination of all that. It just, man, when Horikoshi wants to draw like some great panels, he draws some panels that just make me sit there and stare at that for a good couple minutes, because it's awesome. But Carlyle, I know you're kind of the My Hero Academia expert, man. So I would love to hear your thoughts on the newest chapters, and especially with like Shigaraki's whole thing going on right now. Because I know I read the fan sub, because I was so excited to see how this was going to come together, and that kind of gave me some confusing things on. I wasn't sure, and then this one cleared it up a little bit, but there's definitely still some strange things with the Shigaraki all for one dynamic going on.
Yeah, it took me a minute to figure out when I read this last week I'd go back and read it 2 or 3 times to kind of figure out exactly what's going on. And it's basically just that in order to distinguish between the all for one controlled Shigaraki body and the Shigaraki controlled Shigaraki body, that they've made the bodies look like All for One and Shigaraki, even though it's just Shigaraki. So it's a little confusing because the visual metaphor looks like it's literally happening, but it's definitely just because at first I thought that Shigaraki stole All for One's body and we were just going full Freaky Friday with it, and that would have been something, but that's not what's happening.
But I would be all on board if they do Freaky Friday with Shigaraki and All for One. Like that.
Really?
That sounds like a fun time to me.
I want to see like the reverse of that, where Shigaraki's stuck in the grown-up body, and he's just like, "Oh boy, I'm a grown-up now. Oh boy."
Well, that would be the Freaky Friday thing, right?
Yeah.
He
wrapped all the way over. Now he's fighting Endeavor.
Yeah. But I did, especially reading the official translation, and then I was just like, okay, so like the black talk bubbles are all Shigaraki essentially talking to All for One. But I'm still like a little confused. Like after Lady Nagant like got the shot off, and both of Shigaraki's hands are temporarily shot off, we got like the panel of All for One just like gushing out blood and screaming, and super brutal panel. We've never seen this series villain in such a dire situation. And then to make things worse, a whole bunch of fingers come out of his mouth. And I've said it before on past podcasts, but Horikoshi, we get it. You know how to draw hands real good. I hear that's really hard to do. Congratulations. But he literally put it in our face in this chapter.
Horikoshi's just setting up for his horror manga. It's coming next.
Yeah.
Which I'm so excited for because I'm like
Right?
really into Junji right now, and it's like I need more of that. So
Yeah, I mean, if Horikoshi's half as good as Junji Ito at making horror manga, then it'll be pretty good because
I'd be.
no one can touch Ito in terms of that, in my opinion.
Oh,
They're
if
the
he could,
master.
that would be quite a feat. That would be quite a feat.
It also probably wouldn't be able to be published in Jump, so.
Yeah, I don't know. They're definitely pushing the boundaries when it comes to that lately, especially with like Chainsaw Man and stuff like that, which we'll talk about it. But yeah, and especially the panel where it's I'm not sure if this was like a flashback. I couldn't remember if we had seen this panel before, but the one of like the younger Shigaraki just surrounded by the cascade of hands and stuff, and it's almost like a screwed up Nico Robin panel. I felt, but yeah, those were really striking. I agree that I think Horikoshi would do an amazing horror manga, which is what he's rumored to be doing after this, which might be a reason he's kind of rushing this final arc a little bit. But honestly, in our past discussions on it, we've felt like he was rushing it. But then on like hindsight, we're like, okay, actually that all kind of fit together. Okay. Like I think
maybe you thought that.
Yeah,
No!
I've just thought that he's been rushing it. But I feel like there's a weird sort of thing where like he'll rush it and then like he'll do a slow chapter. And it's kind of weird what he rushes and slows down on, in my opinion. But I mean, it hits differently for different people. And I haven't, as past podcasts have shown, I haven't been the biggest fan of his pacing this arc. But I have thought the last two chapters were very well paced, just being able to balance the backstories of the villains who are now heroes and everything that's going on, which is a very refreshing change of pace considering how poorly paced the previous chapters were, like immediately before it.
Yeah, I feel like we previously had some issues with the heteromorph section of this, just because it felt like we were in the middle of all this kind of stuff where it's just the series big bads, the world peril, and then we go back to the streets and we're like, yeah, but there's some discrimination going on, and we're like, well, yeah, that's all like important and worth talking about too, but it just seems like so. We have these big issues over here. Oh, wait, there's also these big issues over here. And now that we've had the hindsight and, we've kind of distanced ourselves from that all happening, I didn't hate it as much.
Well, I mean, my big thing with that was that it should have been its own arc, right?
Yeah.
It had no place being shoehorned into the final arc in like a couple chapters and being like, well, we solved racism. It was just not it wasn't well done, in my opinion. And I think that it was just sort of put in here because Horikoshi was like, I wanted to cover this at least somewhat, but I didn't get to do my full arc on it. And then that's just how it felt to me. Like,
yeah, no, I agree. It definitely could have been a full, very good, powerful arc, I think.
I think we're kind of
especially
seeing
the way
why
it just ended
we
too.
stuck it in there.
Right.
I was just saying, I think we're seeing why it got stuck in where it got stuck in, and it's because it had to happen before Lady Nagat could show up, because she's at the hospital where all that stuff happened. So we had to go back and do all of that first to get the hospital area caught up chronologically with what's going on in the fight.
Oh, is that the same hospital?
Yeah, she's supposed to be at the same hospital.
I didn't realize that. Oh man, I'm surprised that place is still standing, honestly.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. I don't know. I really, as I said, I was just gushing about the gentle return, seeing his glow up and stuff. And again, I don't. Anytime I see Lady Nagant, I am a big fan of her, but kind of the same issue. I wish that we had more time with her. Like she's just such a cool, awesome design, interesting character, especially with like the connection between her and Hawks. Like Hawks is kind of the new version of her, but she was previously like the spy that was having to infiltrate like the scariest, worst villains, and she got a little bit more corrupted than she wanted to. It was just, as you know, Stephen put it, it was a pretty tragic backstory. It's just, I feel like this is ticking all the bingo boxes for a good shonen ending. Because you know we're going through all the villains that the good guy was able to turn and convince and bring them to their side. Most shonens end that way, I feel. So I mean, we're definitely getting the end game, and that is not even, or it's even harder to deny, especially with that final panel. Like again, another one of those panels that I had to stare at for a couple minutes because I just loved it so much. I think Deku is a little very angular, which is kind of strange looking, but I'm willing to forgive that just on how awesome Shigaraki looks, just with the black silhouette and the two glowy eyes and the whole giant building coming crashing down. And
Yeah,
it's so cool. And I'm kind of bummed that we have to wait to see what happens next, which is a great place for My Hero Academia to end off, because there's been several chapters that have ended. I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm not super excited for the next one. We'll see what happens. But now this is good.
Yeah, I'd be super excited, except for the fact that Deku is still like, I also can't pretend I didn't see you crying in there. And like, I mean, redemption's well and good. I get it. It's a shonen, shonen protagonist. But like, I mean, Shigaraki is pretty unremorseful for what he's done. So I'm curious to see if it will actually be a redemption that Deku can do, or if it will actually be a twist on that trope and Deku will have to realize, I can't actually redeem you.
I mean, at least he's still saying it. I mean, it's pretty Deku to say something like that. It's like, oh, okay, you're still yourself.
I don't need him to be himself. I find Deku very uncompelling. So I feel like it would be more compelling if he realized that he couldn't and then had to deal with that sort of mental anguish.
Maybe that's what's coming.
Maybe.
You'll give
Yeah.
up on Shigaraki. It's like, how could you?
It could be. And if it is, then I'd be very happy with that. But I also think it's a conclusion he could have reached a while ago after Shigaraki mass murdered people.
Yeah.
The second time. I don't know how many times he's done it. He's done it a fair amount. But
yeah, it's like one of his favorite things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing too. Like we think back to it, and you guys might be able to clear this up for me, but I almost feel like Deku is probably one of the characters that has had the least amount of character development in these last couple arcs. I feel like he kind of got to the point in the moment with the war arc that the anime just wrapped up. I feel like that was kind of his last like evolution. And then, of course, Dark Deku stuff's about to happen, and he kind of accepts the help from his friends, and that they're better together, and all that normal shonen stuff. But everybody else has just kind of surpassed him, I feel like, in interesting character development at this point of the story. So that would be quite the twist, where Deku fails in this clash of ideals against Shigaraki, and he ends up having to put down Shigaraki permanently. I think that would be great. It would be compelling, but I don't see it happening that way. I think All for One still has, or at least the ticking clock of All for One's original body, which is actively in his prime, and it's going to be getting decaying, or he's going to be reverting even younger and younger and younger. So he might not even be in his prime right now. He still has a major part to play in all this. I think it would be very disappointing if like Endeavor and Hawks and all them over there put him down. I kind of want to see him get here. I just think that would be the most exciting thing to happen. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, go for it, Carla.
All right. Yeah, I think that he is going to get over here, and I don't think it's going to be quite a three-way battle, but it certainly kind of feels like we're setting up for that, where we've got Shigaraki's goals different enough now, and this desire to exert influence over him that's just not working, where they might fight each other a little bit, which would be interesting.
Yeah, I kind of thought that might be where the end of the series was going. Like Shigaraki and Deku might stop fighting for a minute to focus on taking the original All for One down. But I think this chapter definitely established Shigaraki's goals and his mindset on he just wants to destroy everything that led up to the creation of his childhood and his house. And either Deku's going to convince him that everything's not that bad, or Shigaraki's just full tilt gone, and he just needs to be silenced. But I don't see that being the shonen ending. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm very curious to jump over to the other battlefield. I kind of hope that we don't do that instantly, but I am also quite invested to see how like the Toga thing resolves. Very interested to see how the Dabi Endeavor confrontation ends. I've given my theories on how I think the perfect ending could be between that relationship. But I mean, we still have we literally have all of the biggest series fights going on right now. So as Horikoshi has said that he'd like to get this. Man, we have so many series ending this year. JJK just announced that they're trying to wrap it up. This is wrapping it up.
I mean, Horikoshi said that he'd wrap it up last year, and that didn't work. So maybe JJK won't as well. Although JJK definitely seems like it's in the end game with its latest chapter.
Yeah. That we'll definitely talk about that maybe off the podcast. But let us know in the comments if you'd like to hear our thoughts on Jujutsu Kaisen. We'll make time for that if y'all call for it. I guess any more thoughts on where you guys think the next chapter might be heading? I think we kind of dived into everything I wanted to talk about on the newest My Hero Academia.
I mean, the only thing, just going off what we were talking about with Deku, I do have some hope that he might go through like another Dark Deku stage. Like there was that little moment when he was first transforming or whatever he was going through. When Lemillion had to talk him down, like there was that moment where he seemed like he was getting lost. And I'm like, oh, are they going to bring Dark Deku back? Because I mean, and I'm hoping that might actually happen. Who knows? I mean, it's just like that was one of the most compelling arcs in the series. I feel like with his whole Dark Deku phase, it was just the fact that it just ended with him like being unaffected. It was like, I'm just going to have these dark feelings for this arc. But then as soon as the arc ends, everything's back to normal. So I'm hoping that's not the case and that this last bit where we saw Deku kind of slipping, that might play a role in this current arc or this final arc, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. So, I mean, we don't have Lemillion or anybody else holding Deku back at this point. I would love to see Lemillion show back up, but they're kind of busy, I think, dealing with a whole army of Twice clones on top of UA's falling carcass, I guess is the best way to describe the falling giant island. I'm very anxious. I think Araka coming in at the end to help Deku would be great, but she's kind of busy dealing with Toga and all that stuff.
You got to stay with Toga. She's got to stay there.
And I almost feel like Toga and Deku are in a very similar situation right now, where they're going against their like arch enemy, and both of those enemies are just very, very set in their ways, and I'm not sure how they're going to bring them out of it. So that's a good anime ending, a good manga ending. We're not sure how they're going to be able to turn the villain, and the villain's not going to go down without being put down hard. So we'll see what happens. I don't think it's all going to happen in chapter 380, but we'll definitely be talking about it next time. But any final thoughts on My Hero Academia, gentlemen, before we start talking about some Chainsaw Man?
I'll just say like one thing. I do have hope with Horikoshi. I feel like that he has been, like, again, there's been these little stumbles here and there. But I mean, like, one of my biggest grievances a little while ago was how they were dealing with Toga and Uraraka. And like that was like my big thing when it ended and then they moved on to the bigger battle. And we were always saying like if they switched back to it, it would feel like it was a step down if we ever got back to Toga and Uraraka's story. But Horikoshi ended up making it work. So I mean, I think that however things play out, I think he knows what he's doing, and it'll wrap up well.
I mean,
I know Ben doesn't think that.
Well, so the Toga and Uraraka stuff, I don't think he made work because there was so much potential to actually do something there, and he just
Think it still happened. That's the thing.
He made it like a plot device, right? He didn't like actually like it could still happen, sure, but it seems like he doesn't really care about fleshing that out. He just kind of used Toga for the twice stuff.
Where I see it going is that they're at this point where Uraraka or Toga, she's at like the pinnacle of like her evil side, and Uraraka is now getting more desperate to connect with her and to bring her back. And so I feel like it's building because like I was really scared, and I'm just rambling now, but I was really scared like the fact that they moved away from them. So when the story moved away from them, that we were only going to get their talk as a flashback, and I was like, that would suck. But the fact that
there's still time.
Yeah, exactly. Like the flashback, nothing ever happened during that flashback, really. So they didn't end up really talking. So the fact that it can still happen is exciting.
No, I was saying there's still time to make it a flashback.
No, Jesus, no, stop it.
I mean, I'm invested in this plot thread as well, but I feel like Horikoshi has not shown that he is. So that's why I don't have much hope in that. But I mean, we'll just have to find out. If he actually does flush it out, I'll be very happy. So like, you know, I'm hoping that it works out that way. I just don't have the most faith in that.
At least Lady Nagan came back. I was so doubtful. I'm like, there's no way she's coming back. Like, it would be awesome, but she's here, and I'm happy.
Because she got messed up real good the last time we saw her. So, but yeah, that's about to get covered in the anime, so that's pretty exciting.
I'll actually watch that one. I'll watch that. I'll watch that.
Yeah, I'm a little behind on it myself. I need to get caught up. But yeah, or Horikoshi could throw, a wrench into everything and pull a Gwen Stacy with Uraraka, which would be super interesting, but I don't think that would wrap the story up anytime soon.
Yeah, Deku, like, Shigaraki throws her off the falling UA, and Deku's like, no, Black Whip. And for some reason, she doesn't use her gravity powers to make herself light, and her next slap
does like Spider-Man. Yeah, well, that's like Spider-Man, so it could like I'm like Gwen Stacy, why? But it's like, oh wait, there are all those.
Although I feel like that would really be a disservice to Uraraka's character.
It's not going to happen. That's probably my wildest theory I'll throw out, but
it's going to come true. It's going to happen. Yeah. Fandom's gonna flip out like when Bakugo died.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, my main reason for getting upset at that was the way it happened, not the
the best Genus thing, or not.
Well, not just that, but like every aspect of the Bakugo death was mishandled. But
that's right. You didn't like that.
But that's getting off topic. Retreading.
Well, actually. I'm glad you did bring that up, because that's probably the last thing I think needs to happen is Bakugo showing up. And
well, yeah, because he's not dead for
it's about time for him to stand back up.
Yeah, he should be able to heal pretty quickly after that heart explosion.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially because his like closest hero friend, what's his name? I don't know, not Best Genus, but the other guy who we all know and love, who was making that noble sacrifice.
Edshot.
Edshot. Yeah.
Edshot. Okay. Yeah.
Edshot.
That was so bad.
That was
Wait, what was it?
So bad.
Yeah. I think we can all agree it's. I don't know if any of y'all have ever played the Fallout game, but everybody disliked that. Some of you get my references. All right, guys. Well, I think that'll about do it for our My Hero Academia 379 chat. I'll go ahead and about 29:30. All right, excellent. Well, are you all sticking around to talk Chainsaw Man, or
Oh,
some of
yeah.
y'all dipping out?
Yeah, I
I'll
gotta
do it.
go.
I'll do a
Okay.
See
chainsaw.
ya.
I'll do a chain, and I might.
Glad to
I'll
discuss
stick around and listen
image.
to One Piece because, like I was saying, I'm when I read it, when I read like how like the long form notes, I get so psyched. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but it's like I'm going back and reading like at the beginning of Egghead or whatever, and I'm like so into it now when I'm reading. I'm like, whoa!
Oh,
So it's
IK's
like,
great. Oh,
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
definitely be getting into it. But Carlyle, thanks for chiming in today, man. People can
Yeah.
check out his progress on Twitter on his graphic novel Elven Revenue Service, and always like hearing from you, bud. But we'll have a lot of his info in the description as well. But thanks again for chiming in, man.
Yep. I'll see you guys next time.
yeah. See you then.
Peace. All right. Well, we have been anxiously awaiting getting to talk about Chainsaw Man. The anime wrapped up recently, and part 2 just keeps on going.
Mhm.
It's going pretty strong. I'm really enjoying uh, the building dynamic between Asa and Denji. But yeah, I guess where we left off previously, we've been kind of coming off with like uh, one chapter every week, and then every once in a while it's every 2 weeks. It seems to be kind of going back to every 2 weeks, which I'm okay with. There's huge cliffhangers and stuff that I'm like, oh, I gotta know what happens. But I love the quality, and it's honestly, I think, like a fine dessert. Like I don't need it consistently. It's just each chapter delivers on so much. And it was actually I got to write my first anime screen rant based on this chapter. So, um, but the last chapter we left, they kind of ended their date, and Asa is kind of getting perplexed with her feelings towards Denji. She hates him, but then she's like, can't stop thinking about him. And we had that huge cliffhanger that a lot of people were really upset that it was the cliffhanger of Denji's spinal sword. That didn't end up happening. I saw somebody on Screen Rant wrote a pretty interesting article about how Denji might be um, immune to like some of the more powerful devil powers, which
Oh yeah, because they said that in part 1 that there's certain powers that like the as a hybrid or whatever he is, he's immune to a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's great because it leads to misunderstandings, like Asa thinking that Denji doesn't actually like her,
Mhm.
which then leads her to say, oh, I don't actually like you, and then so they both think that they don't like each other.
Yeah.
But then Yoru just cuts through all the classic rom-com, sort of, oh no, I don't like you, but they actually do, and she's just like, I'm just gonna kiss him, and then she
You think
does.
that's what was going on? Because like I saw that, or
Well,
when that part happened, I was just like, what is going on? Like,
well, Yoru clearly wants to make him hers, right? Because
yeah,
she wants to turn him into a weapon to defeat Chainsaw Man. So she's
Yeah,
like, this is clearly the most straightforward way to do so.
yeah, like that's the way I saw it. It was
good
just like,
point.
stop beating around the bush. I'm taking over.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Yeah,
So,
I almost feel like I think it was a couple chapters ago. Yoru made a comment on how uh, they're sharing a body, and they're saying they're sharing physiology. So even Yoru is starting to like get feelings and stuff like that,
Mm,
and she's kind of
yeah.
new to that as a devil.
wait, did she say she was getting feelings for him?
Yeah. She
I
said so.
thought
What was the
so.
thing? I know what you're talking about. Yeah, she said that
Okay.
like she's feeling what Asa is feeling. I
I
don't know
thought
if
she
she's
was saying that
experienced.
like she knows what Asa's feeling because they share a body.
We have to go. I can't check it because when I do that, my computer freezes. I don't know why.
Oh no!
I'm on this. Yeah, so I
Your
can't check.
computer can't handle looking at manga pages.
No, it's like when we're doing this, I can't do anything simultaneously.
Oh, okay, I got you.
It's like, nope, you're not doing that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure which chapter it was. I wish I did. Maybe it might have been. I'm looking back real quick.
It might have been this chapter. It was fairly recent.
Where it wasn't this chapter because they didn't have any time to talk this chapter.
Oh, they didn't.
Oh, here we go. I found it. Is last chapter, 118, page 6. Quote from Yoro: "We discovered that we can also share emotions like affection. We'll take our time winning the boy's heart while we search for Chainsaw Man." So with that being said, I thought the whole her going for the kiss was, teenage bodies are just so frantic and crazy, and like, I got to do this thing. I'm feeling this. I want to do this thing. Asa's in control of it and denying it, and like, no, I don't like you. You suck. I'm leaving after this movie. And then Yoru's like, okay, well, this body feels like it really wants to kiss this guy, so I'm going for it.
Interpretation of
it. It could be that, but I mean, I feel like Yoru didn't care about Asa enough to be like, I'm gonna do this because Asa wants to do it, but she just is too timid to. Yeah. That doesn't really track with her character because she just cares about herself.
But that's what that's what I love about Chainsaw, like his writing style, because it could be anything, but we don't know because we're not in their minds. I really appreciate that because I mean I feel like it could be as something else entirely as well. That's why I'm really enjoying. I'm enjoying the Fujimoto ride.
Yeah, me too. Ben, I like your take though. It definitely is a more intelligent take on it. But the whole thing I kind of gravitated towards on this chapter that was really kind of threw me for a loop, and it's what I wrote my screen rant about, was Denji's rules. As soon as we get to Denji's place, he starts giving the unbreakable rules, because in the last chapter, the cliffhanger was, all right, well, if we're going to go to my place, there's some rules that you have to follow, or you might die. Us as the reader is just like, oh boy, well, we kind of know that he's taking control of the control devil, or he's helping raise the control devil, so that could be scary. But he starts giving these weird rules that just feel like common sense sort of things. But I think that there might be something more sinister behind these rules. So don't open the door of any apartment other than mine. That seems like common sense. Why would you do that? This isn't your place. I'm not going to do that. I almost think that there might be like devil hunters or even other devils living in the adjacent apartments, keeping an eye on Denji and Control Devil because they're such wild cards and, technically some of the most dangerous beings on the planet. So I almost feel like it could be surveillance.
I interpret it more as these are things that Nayuta can't do. Like Denji told her, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. And because Nayuta's the control devil, that means it's an unbreakable rule that everyone must follow, or else, something will happen in terms of punishment. I don't think there's there might be reasons for those rules being in place originally that, then Nayuta can punish for. But like, I think the main thing is if you break any of the rules, Nayuta will like kill you or like do something to you, as we saw in the final panel of the chapter. Yeah. And so I feel like it's just more related to her instead of like actual other things going on.
That's a great take because, with her being the control devil and those rules being established for her being the control devil, it absolutely makes sense that anybody who breaks those rules could, face punishment because she is who she is. I didn't think about that, but I kind of also really want to see Kishibe again. I would love it if Kishibe is hanging out on one of the Denji and Power's drunk teacher, who's like one of the most powerful devil hunters alive. I think people like that would probably kill anybody who opens up their door unannounced, but I like your take on it too. And as Steven said, this could be either one of these. That's Fujimoto's amazing talent, I think, is he does several red herrings that you think like, oh, this is what it's leading up to, and then he's just like, nope, there's this thing over here. And
Well,
you're like,
I
"Oh,
feel
shit."
like Kishibe wouldn't be living next door because he sort of gave Naito to Denji because he didn't want to take care of it. And so I feel like he wouldn't then live next door to watch over them to take care, right? That doesn't really go along with his whole purpose for giving Naito to Denji.
Yeah.
I feel
but-
bad. I didn't even think about this at all. like I was reading, I was like,
right.
oh, I guess we'll find out what that is later. I never actually gave any thought. I'm like, okay. Like,
Yeah.
do we know if, because I know like Nayuta, she's doing the same chain power thing that Makima had, but is she still a control devil? I mean,
yes, I believe so.
do we know that?
I think she is more control devil than she is Makima, actually.
Yeah. Well, Makima was like the specific personality of that control devil, right? Or like, yeah, it's kind of like how, a devil goes to hell and comes back and they've lost their memories, right? Like Makima was control devil first, then she went to hell and came back right away because she's so strong. But the control devil doesn't, have her experience or memories and.
Like I was thinking that she could be something completely new, just because the fact that there was always that ambiguity of what it meant that Denji ate her. I mean, there was a whole thing where, well, it has to be the chainsaw devil to eat to be able to erase them from existence. But then the fact that if Denji, who's a hybrid with the chainsaw devil, him eating her could mean something else. Like I was feeling like that she could be a completely new entity. But I mean, we're seeing right now that she has Makima's same power and she is very controlling.
Well, she also has the bite, right? Like
bite?
she bit Denji in the last chapter of part 1. And and Makima had said, like, remember my bite, right?
The thumb bite.
And then she was like, and Denji was like, oh, Makima? And so like that implies that she is, in fact, the control devil. Maybe her powers have been neutered by Denji eating her as a hybrid, but like, I think like she definitely some form of Makima reincarnation, some form of control devil reincarnation. But she could just have her powers greatly reduced or something. Very unclear at this point. We'll find out in the coming chapters, probably.
And I almost feel like it could be alluding to. I'm still hopeful that we'll get to see Power again. I mean, Power definitely sacrificed herself at the end, but she said, come find me in hell, essentially. But the more we learn about how much personality, memories, and abilities transfer over to the new reincarnations, the more we kind of find out about Power possibly, and how much of her might still be stuck in hell or something like that. But I don't know. I'm one of those people that's still holding on to people like Nabara still being okay in certain series.
I think you gotta leave that behind.
Oh,
that ship has sailed.
Oh no. Another little bit back to Chainsaw Man and not trying to dramatically ruin other series that people might not be caught up on. The one little detail I really enjoyed about this new chapter, I missed it first time I read it. They keep track of their farts. March farts, Denji and Nayuta. Which I love the idea of like just thinking like this little girl who's like the control devil. I would imagine little girls, if they fart, they don't like do or say anything about it. But I just love the idea of this little girl going up and be like, oh, did you just fart, Nayuta? Yeah.
I feel like that's more Denji's influence. Like Denji being like, oh, we should keep track of this. And
exactly.
have a fun little thing.
I can't imagine the original Makima doing that.
Very very non-Makima.
Yeah. So I think that little panel there, other than just being, a ha-ha panel, kind of shows that Denji is having an effect on Nayuta already. Like, he is a powerful influence on her, and it's exactly as Kishibe wanted. We need her to grow up in an environment with hugs and smiles and laughs, unlike the first Makima, which I don't feel like we got a whole lot of backstory on like what her previous life was before we met her and stuff. You brought up the whole him having to eat Makima. I think that might be what rule number 2 was focusing on.
What was rule number 2?
Rule number 2 is don't open the fridge. And that would be a very complicated second date, having to explain why your former love interest is in pieces in your fridge.
Well, he finished eating her.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Man, you're just tearing apart my Screen Rant.
Well, at the end of part 1,
Man,
he said
Jason,
to Kishibe, like, I finished eating her. And
I love
so
it.
I don't know, maybe, yeah, there's probably some other reason for not opening the fridge, but like,
oh, shit.
yeah, it's not that probably, unless this is
Right.
retconning the end of part 1.
Yeah, I might have to contact my editor and have that one deleted because it's just getting torn apart on this podcast.
Yeah.
But I've been kind of, before we get to like the final bit of the chapter and the major cliffhanger, what was some other stuff about this chapter that stood out for you guys, or the last couple chapters? Because we haven't gotten to talk about them lately. I've been kind of ranting.
I mean, honestly, the last couple chapters have just been great. Like, exactly what I've wanted for this part of the series. Just a blast,
Well, I know we were last time we were able to talk, we were stuck in the aquarium, and I remember Steven having some issues with how things were shaken out, especially with Denji being kind of a douchebag about like taking advantage of homeless people. But exactly what we theorized on the podcast, we called it here on Mega Manga Mondays, that the reason he was doing that was to, take care of Nayuta and save up money for her. And when he revealed that to Asa, that kind of, it provided that we know Denji's character. We know he's not a hopeless asshole who would take advantage of homeless people just because. So we kind of knew that there might be something up, but the way that Fujimoto structured that reveal made it so we got to enjoy Asa's like pleasant surprise as well.
I feel
really
like it was
that.
so wrong. I don't. Even if he was doing it for Nayuta, it's just like, dude, man, you were homeless too. Like,
but he doesn't know another way to go about doing it, right?
I can't. Like, it's just like when you go through those situations yourselves, and then you still do it to another person. I don't. And then there's also the thing where in the last discussion we had, I was really excited about how Nayuta could be, just because in the part 1, my reading was that their relationship, Denji and Nayuta's, would be much darker, but then there was that whole idea where it might actually not have been so dark. So I've been really enjoying at least the last 2 chapters, just because it has been introducing more of like this sinister-esque vibe to their relationship. So I have been enjoying that. I just don't know if I don't know. I mean, I guess based on the latest chapter, I mean, we're seeing that, she's attacking just because, she saw Yoru and Denji kiss.
Broke
so
one of the rules.
So there is the fact that she is very violent, but I'm still I'm still thinking that the rules that Denji made are actually his own rules, and that he's just being overprotective of her. I feel like I'm still not convinced that it's this sinister edge, just because the way he was introducing Nayuta to Asa, like he was like, she's my sister / friend. Like, there was nothing about it that it's sinister. It's like, I'm a prisoner in her house. Like, I have to follow all these rules.
Well, yes. I don't think Denji would view it as being like a prisoner in the house, even if like the rules were imposed by Nayuta. right?
It just feels
it-
like when what's her my god, I'm forgetting, when Asa invited herself over, all of a sudden he got like really scared, and it's like, we have all these rules. It just doesn't feel like, it's like, why would he call her a friend slash,
because
sister?
she is a friend slash sister to him, right?
But it's like
Genji's used to living in terrible situations, so he probably doesn't think that like living with a control devil who, he has to follow specific rules for is that bad.
I don't know.
Because
Like,
I think it's better than most of his past living experiences.
Is it though? Like, he's had all these horrible experiences since part 1. Like,
this is nothing to him. He's fine with it. He's like, this is fine. There are just some boundaries I can't cross, just like any other natural living relationship, right? There are boundaries that you're not supposed to cross. It's just in this case, with the literal control devil being your roommate, then it's going to be the consequences are going to be a bit different.
I don't feel that, because I mean, he's been experiencing so much crap already, and like, by saying that he thinks that this is normal means that he hasn't really grown as a character or been able to see.
I don't think it means that at all. It just I think it's very mature of him to accept these conditions.
Because it's
I personally think that it's just he consistently comparing like how we started with Denji, where he literally sold a testicle, an eyeball, and a kidney just to be able to live in a shack with his dog. Like, that's the worst that he's ever had. So everything's been an upgrade since. And then he got to experience the best that life could have given him so far, was a stable house with people that he loved, Aki and Power. And that was taken away from him. And this is almost as close to that as he's had so far. So I think he just consistently has that, like, this isn't so bad compared to the previous.
I don't know. I just can't wrap my head around it, because it's just, he has experienced what a good life is. And we're able to see that he's able to realize what's bad, because when he was with this relationship with Asa, we got into his head, and he's like, I told myself I wouldn't get myself in this situation again. So we know that he can discern what's right, what's wrong, what is a good type of life. And the fact that he's not seeing that now, I don't know.
Well, he knows what a bad type of life is, right? And I don't think that living with someone who has like strict rules who you have to follow, or else you'll something bad will happen to you. I don't think that constitutes a terrible life to him. I think he's like, this is fine, because I think it is fine.
I don't know. Like, it just feels like
I think that he's like, I mean, he's living with basically a family again, right? As Jason said, right? He experienced what it's like to live with other people who you love and who love you back. And he's doing that again with Naida. And I think given that, he's fine with the extra things that come along with it, because it's a good life, all things considered, So I think that this is perfectly fine. I think it makes perfect sense.
Well, and I think
more about their living condition in the future, right? We're speculating a bit about what exactly their living conditions is and who set the rules. But I think like even worst case scenario we can get from this, it's still much better than his previous life. And so he's fine with like what it would be.
I think that's the big hang up there with Steven is Steven, it sounds like you're going with this judgment based on if Nayuda is the one making those rules, which means that Denji is under her control technically.
That's what
I don't think that's what's going on. I think those are rules that Denji established, and because I can't imagine this little girl being like, I'm going to murder anybody who you make out with in front of me. Like, I think
that's what happens here.
Right. Yeah. I don't see her like saying that and establishing that. I almost think like Denji came up with that because he knows how Nayuda would react if she saw that. But we'll get more clarification, because the chapter ended with a chain going through Asa's head. And we even get a little bit of a couple blood sprinkles coming out from the back of her head too, to really, really drive the point home that this isn't just some magical chain of just like, I'm reading your mind. No, we had a chain go through her head. And Asa's gonna have a really hard time explaining how she's still alive without revealing a little bit about herself, which at this point of the story, neither Denji or Asa know each other's deals. Like they don't know that they're being possessed by devils in any way. I think Denji would have at least a clue or an idea, except he was so distracted by the adorable penguin that he was just like, oh, hey, sweet, we're out. I don't know how that happened. Maybe this penguin did it. But I'm that's probably the conversation I'm most anxious to see how it shapes out in the next chapter, because this is essentially forcing Asa's hand. I don't believe she's going to come out and say like, oh yeah, you got me. I'm the war devil and I'm kind of stuck in this situation, but I hope you'll help me so I can get this thing out. And just like, oh, well, that's weird. I'm actually the chainsaw devil. Like, what?
Well, it's also partially forcing Denji's hand too, because Asa's probably going to be like, what's up with your roommate / sister? And also the war devil recognized the famine devil, right? So the war devil might also recognize the control devil because they're all siblings. They're all
possibly.
horsemen.
Especially with her using the chain immediately, which I think that was a screen rant. I'm not sure which one of you wrote or if it was one of you guys on how her using this chain ability is showing that she is like already more capable with her powers than Makima was. So I'm not sure if that's 100% the case, but this is kind of forcing the hand. And I think class president who overheard like, what? Asa might die if she breaks the rules. I think he might be somewhere in the vicinity too. Fujimoto set that up for some reason. So I almost wonder if he's also in the wide open door and sees this, just comes in at the right time or something like that. I don't know.
Or the wrong time.
Yeah.
We've been talking Chainsaw Man for about 20-25 minutes. Any other thoughts on it? I'm just very excited plenty of conversations are going to happen from a chain going through somebody's head. I'm very excited. We'll definitely be talking about it on the next episode as well. But anything else from you guys on Chainsaw Man?
I mean, I think it's funny that Denji doesn't seem to. He's never noticed whenever Yoru takes over. He doesn't notice the scars that suddenly appear. It just goes to show. I mean, he's still kind of.
I'm still not. I'm actually, because I went back to look at the chapter where like Yoshida apparently said like scars.
Yeah, he's like
thinking about that.
But like it was kind of ambiguous. It might not have been Yoshida talking there. It might have been Asa thinking that.
Okay, so we're still not sure if the scars actually physically show up or if it's just for us readers.
Yeah, like
wait, wasn't it just? I think it was just Yoshida in that panel, and he just goes.
No, so it's like if you look at it, it shows like Yoru's face, and then it shows like text bubbles saying those scars, which could be Yoshida saying it, but like Asa, this is the first time Asa has been out of her body. And in the very next panel, she's like saying my body. So it could easily be Asa saying this as a reaction to getting ejected from her body for the first time.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So it's unclear. And we've been sort of using this as the assumption, and I think it's a reasonable assumption when you first read it, but like it doesn't add up the more like you see people not reacting to the scars except for Yoshida apparently. So I think it is just actually Asa saying that in that panel.
Who else has seen it? Because I know that I'm just aware that Yoshida and Denji, like
Denji hasn't seen the scars, I don't think.
Wait, who?
Until now, yeah.
I don't think anyone.
Those two,
I don't think anyone's like actually said anything about the scars.
Right.
Besides,
But I
like,
mean, like,
this-
who could have seen them? Like, I guess that's my question. Like, who else would have had this? Because like, it's that she's only transformed or taken over in front of Denji and in front of Yoshida, and so that's why I'm like, the way I'm seeing it is that Denji's just stupid, and he just
it
doesn't.
could be too. That definitely could be. I think that she has been in the Yoru form in front of some other people as well, but I can't remember well enough. But
Yeah, I
I just
don't
wanted to
recall.
point out. I just wanted to point out that ambiguity because we were sort of wondering, like, why isn't Yoshida like, oh, you're a devil or something from seeing this? Why would he just be like, huh, those scars, and then just pass it over like it's a normal thing?
The
But
only other character I can think of was Justice Devil and the girl she possessed, and I don't remember her name anymore. But Yuko, thank you.
I think too, because Yoshida was a student at that time, like he can't act immediately. Like,
I mean, he could say, huh, that's weird. It's you like, why do you have scars now?
That wasn't there.
What the frick?
Yeah.
Did I?
Well, yeah, right. Yeah. Thanks for clearing some of that stuff up, gentlemen, and thanks for ripping apart my screen rant, Ben.
Yeah, no problem.
I very excited. I did enjoy, Denji kind of getting possibly his third kiss of the series, and it went a lot better than his first.
Yep. Not hard.
Almost, actually. It was very bad almost immediately after. So maybe Denji will never ever want to kiss. Well, I don't know, him having to, because I mean, I think Denji does sort of have feelings for her a little bit. I mean, he was interested in the date and stuff like that. So I mean, having some girl that you're kind of into get impaled through the head right in front of you after you kiss her might be a little traumatic.
I think it's still better than getting your puke in your mouth and then your tongue bitten out.
I mean,
so
I think he had a better time in the anime. I mean, I know like the anime elongated that kiss quite a bit. So I mean, it was still a pretty good kiss until the puke happened. So
yeah, it was great until throw up in my mouth.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, I'm sure some people are into that, but
oh geez, I don't even want to entertain the thought of like, oh, it might be pleasant. But yeah, I think that'll wrap up our discussion on Chainsaw Man, chapter 119. Very excited for 120. I think we have. Is that out tomorrow, or do we still have a?
No, I think
week?
it's next week.
Okay, cool. Well, with Mega Manga Mondays coming out on Mondays now, we're unfortunately going to be stuck in kind of the thing where we're going to be talking about like last week's chapter right before the new chapter comes out. So, hardcore Mega Manga Monday fans, first of all, thank you. And two, hopefully this will act as like the primer, the refresher on what Chainsaw Man did before the new one comes out. So hope you stick around and enjoy it. But yeah, I think that'll wrap up our Chainsaw Man chat, and gonna go ahead and dive into something me and Ben could probably talk about for a couple hours, but we'll
abbreviate.
Yeah,
I mean, not much happened in this latest chapter, so like that makes it pretty easy. Oh wait, I'm thinking of the last page of the chat. No wait, a lot happened in that too.
Yeah, honestly, we haven't talked about One Piece in a couple weeks, so we have a lot to talk about.
I mean,
because each chapter is filled with so much to talk.
I mean, I think the big thing, or at least the biggest thing that happened in this chapter and potentially in this arc so far, is that we finally got to see one of the names of the Gorosei.
Which before we get into it, I'll just kind of clean break. We are talking about One Piece the latest chapter to release was 1073. We haven't been able to talk about One Piece in the last couple of weeks, so we're just going to be gabbing about a lot of the big revelations that have happened in the past couple chapters. But 1073 is officially called Miss Buckingham Stussy. Yeah. And oh boy, we got clone theories to talk about. We've got Zero. We got
that's why I want to talk about the Gorosei first, because the Gorosei thing was like the last panel of the chapter, and it's gotten everyone talking. Like everyone's has so many theories about the planets and everything like that. And I mean, regardless of whether those theories are true or not, I think it's just awesome that like this really shows that we are in the end game, finally getting a name for one of these like big shadowy figures in the background throughout the entire series. So I'm really excited by that. And we may even get to see what these guys can do in action.
Yeah, because there's the whole theory, like if they're even, capable fighters, or if they're just old guys that let everybody else do all the fighting for them. But boy, it's literally one of those things where I'm struggling to think about what to say right now because there's so many things I want to talk about. The latest chapter's cliffhanger with revealing the Elder Star, Jay Garcia, Saturn. Appearing, but then the last chapter before that, we kind of got the confirmation that Vegapunk has officially been able to successfully clone people, Rock's pirates more specifically. And I love the idea. I didn't read this theory; it's kind of just my own. But Oda has specifically pointed out that he doesn't want to do romance in One Piece. If you want romance, yeah, if you have romance. If you want to read romance, there's plenty of other series that do that. But I would love it if there's actually no babies. Like there is no lovemaking in One Piece. Everyone's clones.
Well, that's not the case because,
Right.
A big thing when Ace was revealed to be Goldie Roger's son and like Luffy's revealed to be Dragon's son and stuff. So like that's not quite a thing, I think. But,
Right.
we do have...
That would be cool, though.
Yeah, it would be. Well, I think that Buckingham, who has now been revealed to be Miss Buckin, as some people actually predicted, after
Wild.
Buckingham was revealed, which is pretty wild. But I feel like it could be a case of unrequited love with her and Whitebeard,
I think so
because
too.
we've seen a lot of attraction in the series, aka Sanji. But
Most
so it could have been a thing where she loved Whitebeard. Whitebeard was like, nah, and so she took a sample of his DNA and cloned him to make Weevil.
Yeah, which
wasn't there
seems very likely, and also it just it makes you reevaluate the entire series and wonder like, okay, well, who else could be clones? I think Kushina, Zoro's former rival, I think, stricken by grief, her father could have gotten her DNA to Vegapunk and wanted her to be able to live out her life as a swordsman. So,
I actually like that a lot because
yeah,
that was one of the
Shigi,
things I
that's her
was
name.
always. Oh, that's interesting. I like that.
That-
Actually.
Yeah, I've been waiting to see like how Fushigi ties exactly to Zoro's past and stuff because like Oda doesn't just throw something in there to then never talk about it again because Oda has talked about every single thing that has popped up in the series except for like a scant few. So like we know that Oda sets things up like thousands of chapters in advance, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, this happened literally like more than 1,050 chapters ago. But the off-screen death of Kushina and her falling down the stairs—you're just like, that never sits right. That never sat right with me.
Well,
So,
in Japanese culture, apparently, this is like what I've heard for people trying to explain it. Apparently, falling down the stairs is like a euphemism for like suicide in some cases. Some people are like, she may have, killed herself.
the night after she made that vow with Zoro?
Yeah, no, that's the thing that doesn't sit right about that
Yeah.
theory for me. Like, but that's something that people have proposed, which, could be a thing there. But I don't think that makes sense either.
Oh, I would not like that.
Yeah. But it's something that people have proposed about that. People have been theorizing about this and Zoro's backstory for such a long time because he has easily the worst backstory of any of the Straw Hats.
He was actually one of my favorites. Like I remember when I was first starting to read this, like I was going through him like I did not see that coming. Like that was like one of the things where I was like, holy shit, she died. Like so.
Yeah, but is that better than like all the
I was
other
like,
Straw Hats backstories, which are so much more tragic with people dying in all of those. But like,
but it was like one of those things. Is like
I
they're
loved
just like
it.
little kids because like it's a trope that you see in anime and manga all the time.
yeah.
It's like the little kids are like, we're gonna be rivals forever, you know. It's a huge, and then all of a sudden, boop, she's dead. I was like, frick.
It
So,
is
Yeah.
a bit of a subversion. I will say.
it was a big one because I
Yeah.
remember because like when I started reading again, like I was like before I like started liking it and then disliking again, like so that was near the beginning, and I was reading and I was like, I was looking at anything to hate it because I just wanted to be like just to fulfill all my stuff.
I got to stop you real quick, Steven, because I feel like this is, I think, your first One
yeah, I'm going
Piece
too much,
part
sorry.
you've been talking into. No, I absolutely want to hear your thoughts, but I just feel like we should give a little bit of a disclaimer on your One Piece experience,
Oh yeah,
because me and Ben have been diehard One Piece fans. He's probably been a fan longer than I have, but I started reading it and then watching the anime. I've been a big One Piece fan for years now. Steven, what's your experience with One Piece?
I'll give an abridged version. So
Yes.
it was like during the Toonami days, you know, doing all the Dragon Ball stuff, and I remember just
for kids.
and just like seeing the commercials for it. I just got in my head, I'm like, this is going to be stupid. It's going to be dumb. It looks dumb. And so just for like basis of them for like 20 years, like I just going through my life, like One Piece sucks. Like that's just my thing. And then once I came on the first Mega Manga Mondays podcast, I saw both of you guys and Francesco, just like we were talking about all the different series that we had been watching. And One Piece was the only one that all you guys got excited about. Like everyone had bad things to say about Dragon Ball and Naruto, and then all of a sudden One Piece came on, and you guys just came to life. I'm like, what I'm missing something. So then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna bite the bullet. And so without going into too much, I went in reading it, being like, I wanted to justify my hatred for like 20 years. And so I was still in that mindset where I'm like, I was looking for anything to hate. And that backstory was one of the first ones. And I read it and I was like, I was nothing to hate about it. Because I was like, oh, it was one of those stupid stereotypical stories of like, yeah, we're going to be rivals forever. And then she died. So then it just flew me. It was one of the first times where I was just like, nope, this is good. I was very pleasantly surprised. So that's my backstory and why I like that story.
And then you kind of steamrolled through the entire series very quickly, and
I need to reread it. I think I need to take a step back, and
you skipped whole
I think I rushed because I feel like because a lot of the time I just miss too much stuff, and I feel like that I was just reading it without actually taking the time to digest it. Because I read stuff and then I start reading about it. I'm like, what the heck are they talking about? So
and One Piece is one of those series where like, if you're not paying close attention to it, you're not gonna have that good of a time because so much of it is like rewarding paying close attention to it.
Which is so weird though that Oda did that thing where when he finished Wano, and then he did that thing where it's like, okay, anyone can just jump into the series now and read it. Just forget the last 25 years. Remember he said that thing? He's like,
I think he said we're going to the final.
No. Because I think Francesco wrote a thing on it because he was like, what the hell?
Yeah, did he say that? Because
he's like, anyone can just jump in now. The story starts now type of deal. So it's just like,
that's really funny because
which is
that
weird
is
because
not
it's like you're reading each chapter even now.
No.
Like all the stuff that's going on in Egghead or whatever it's called. Like, no.
I mean, I guess to be fair, it's like people often say about like Western comics, like every comic is someone's first comic. And because it's like you reasonably can't start at the beginning of like DC or Marvel's output, read through everything, and then like be all caught up to date. Like there's always going to be characters or storylines that you haven't read, and like Western comics fans kind of just learn to roll with that. So I guess with One Piece you could do a similar thing, but it's just like One Piece is so much more of a unified story under one author's vision that like builds on itself so much that I feel like it would be a bit tough.
Well,
But
that's the thing. I don't want to get on too much of a tangent because you haven't even talked about the chapter too much. But because I know you, Ben, you're a big Western. I mean, you like superheroes. Like I feel like that the way how DC and Marvel work, it must be such a grave disservice just for longtime readers. It's like you're investing like so many hours of your life reading like these stories, and then they just reset.
Well,
again.
it's I mean,
it must be like, what the hell? Like,
so they don't generally reset. Like, there have been some resets. Like the I don't want to get too off topic on this, but like there have been some resets, but they generally don't reset. But it's like, to give an example that ties back to One Piece, look at Grant Morrison's run on Batman, which is a great run on Batman. He brought back a lot of elements from the Silver Age Batman comics, where Batman was sort of like goofier and they did sci-fi things. And like Grant Morrison had this great storyline where he brought back the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh, which was a weird 50s storyline where he went to another planet and became a colorful Batman there. And I can guarantee you that like 90% of readers of the comic have not read the original Batman of Zur-En-Arrh story and have no idea what the original thing is based on. Yet the storyline is still cool when you read it like fresh and when you don't know the background behind it, because it's just done well, and you can sort of sense that there's history here, but like you don't need to know it exactly. So like I think potentially you could be in a similar boat if you like start One Piece after Wano and like you see callbacks and things and you're like, oh, there's history here, but like it's cool enough on its own that I don't need to know all the history. I'm not recommending that people do this. I think that you should read it from the beginning, because there's a lot less ground to cover than like if you wanted to do it with Western comics, for instance.
Because I'm lost. Like I'm lost right now in Egghead.
I think it's something that like some fans could get into the series that way, where like they start reading in the present and they're like, oh, this is like neat on its own, but I feel like I could be getting a lot more out of this if I start at the beginning. And so I feel like that could be a thing that happens with some fans.
I almost feel like One Piece has maybe done this a couple times. I wouldn't.
I think I wouldn't either. Like, I think that fans should definitely start at the beginning, but I can see where something like that could happen.
Right.
I almost feel like the same thing could have been said around like after the time skip. It was like Seabody and the starting of Fishman, because those were almost like the beginning of the Emperor saga, I guess. Like I think that might have been what Oda was trying to say, was like this is the beginning of like the final saga. So like starting now, this is going to be telling almost like a fresh new not rehash or reincarnation, but just a huge new section of the story where everything starting from now is going to be just exploding bigger and bigger from now, compared to like Wano was the epitome of like 4 arcs all leading into the defeat of Kaido. So I'll have to go back and actually see like the comment from Oda about like, oh yeah, people can start from chapter 1000 of my manga.
Yeah, it's
like,
so weird.
No. Because I guess you could look at it and just be like, oh, these guys are funny, these things are kind of happening, but especially like the Stussy clone reveal, the Rocks Pirates, the World Star.
I mean,
like,
also
all
just
these
Lucci
things.
coming back, Kako and Stussy coming back in general,
Yeah, like to a fresh reader who has no context of any of those, I mean, sure, you can just be like, oh, who are these guys? Oh, they seem kind of tough. Okay, cool. Yeah. You're just missing so much. Oh, you found the Oda quote?
Yeah, no, but it's funny. Just the headline: One Piece's creator confirms the series past 25 years don't matter.
Oh God! Oh, what a brutal headline. Evan is very good at headlines, by the way.
I know.
But
I'm going to the original tweet. No, keep talking.
While you look that up, I agree. I think that Stussy has been taking care of Weevil, who I think is possibly a failed Whitebeard clone. And it kind of like brings up Stussy was the first successful clone, and it's been established that Vegapunk is a perfectionist and will call anything a failure if it's not exactly how it used to be. Example, Kaido's clone Devil Fruit and Momonosuke's Pink Dragonness. So I almost think that there could be several people out there that are failed clones, and I think Weevil might be the prime example of that. We got an off-screen fight, unfortunately, of him against an admiral, which is kind of a bummer. But I think that's one of those things where Oda is, actively trying to get this story to wrap up in the next few years. So if he had dedicated an entire chapter or two to Weevil and, what's new admiral's name? Not Fujitora. Rikugu or something like that. Forest Man.
Ryokugyu.
Okay. It's definitely one of those names I'm comfortable reading, but I haven't had to stay with my mouth.
A lot of Y's in there. Ryokugyu. Yeah.
That sounds good enough.
Yeah. But one of the things I like about One Piece as opposed to other shonen, and this may sound like sacrilegious, but like oftentimes in like big shonen, series, you have a big arc with a bunch of different battles, and each battle is shown in detail, but you just want to get to like the main ones, right? Like they're fun, but you're like, okay, but when are we getting to the good stuff, right? And One Piece doesn't do that. Like it's like, oh, Weevil versus Ryokugyu. You know how the fight's gonna end. We don't need to show it. And it's like it lets the series actually get on with the actual stuff that you care about more. Like I personally don't need to see the fight between Weevil and Ryokugyu because I don't care enough about their characters on an individual level to actually, want to see that. But all I need to know is how it affects the general story. And that's what Oda does. He's like, they're captured. Now Buckin is back and trying to get Weevil back. So I actually really like that element of One Piece is that it knows when to sort of show and when to tell.
It's almost like the opposite of Dragon Ball, where they're just like, let's just have them fight just to fight because it's cool, rather than like, let's have them fight because it actually moves the story forward.
Yeah,
I feel like Oda does that specifically now, where he's just like, I could show this fight, but how much does this move the story forward? Not very much. Okay, well, I'm going to move the story forward with just a bubble saying that they fought and this happened.
Steven, what were you going to say?
Yeah, what you got?
No, maybe it's just because I don't know it as well. I feel like it's the opposite. I don't know why. Maybe I'm missing something. Like, especially like with Wano, like it felt like a lot of the battles that happened didn't have to happen or be shown, but I could just be wrong.
I do think that some of them in Wano didn't need to happen. Yeah. But like even in Wano, there's examples of this where Kaido and Luffy's first, or I guess second major clash, like it wasn't really shown on screen. It just ended with Luffy falling from the top of the island. And like
depends if you watch the anime or
I have major issues with how the anime has been presenting some of those fights. One Piece is not Dragon Ball, and I think Francesco at one of our colleagues actually wrote an article about this as well, and I agree with it. Like you shouldn't be having Dragon Ball-esque fights in One Piece because they're very different series, and I know that Toei animates both, but like One Piece fights are their own animal.
Yeah. I'm all for it personally. I might be a lone One Piece anime fan in our manga discussions. So I do agree with you to an extent, though. The anime definitely has some pacing issues, and there's definitely some moments where you're just like, that was drawn very well for such a not pivotal moment sort of thing. But I'm all for it. Like Zoro and Sanji's joint attack versus King and Queen was super cool. But I digress. Again, there's a whole list of things to talk about, and the latest couple chapters, Vegapunk and Bonnie's whole thing going on right now too.
I've been waiting for Kuma's backstory to get revealed for such a long time because Kuma's such a cool character to me. Like, I want to know how he turned up like that, where his allegiances actually lie, what his whole deal is. Like, I just want to know all of it. And I think we're going to find that out real soon because we've seen the bubble of memories and, they're about to touch it. So,
Oh, possibly, because that's definitely what it alluded to in the last chapter, 1072.
yeah.
But in this chapter, we actually get Luffy like, "Oh, where did you guys go?" And then we get one of the rare moments where narrator Oda jumps in and says, "The Vegapunk, what's the
You said an incident had
Stella?"
occurred and Vegapunk's Stella was nowhere to be found. And I,
Yeah.
I love when the narrator in One Piece does that because you just know that there's going to be a lot of fallout around that event. And like, we're going to see it piece by piece.
Yeah.
In most other series, when that happens, it's like, oh, come on, that's a cop-out. But Oda's gained enough trust from me that I'm like, I know that, this is being done for a reason and we'll see why soon.
Absolutely. Well, I think that it might be alluding to, and again, going into another clone theory, kind of the same thing that I said with Kushina. I almost think that possibly Kuma's daughter died.
Yeah.
And then he went to Vegapunk to bring her back or to make a clone of her. But one of my favorite theories I've read, I didn't come up with this myself, was that she is actually cloned using Big Mom DNA.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah, I
And
didn't. I was
she
just
doesn't.
thinking. Yeah, no,
Kuma
I've
didn't
been
want her
on
to know
the.
that.
I've been on board the Bonnie is a clone theory for a while. Not before this arc, of course, but for the past couple chapters. And yeah, the big bomb thing is brilliant. I also assumed it was like a daughter or a wife or something, that a loved one who had died. But yeah, no, that's I like that theory a lot better, especially given what we've seen of Big Mom as a younger person.
Well, and I mean, she was a Rocks pirate, so it's one of those things where they went out to clone Rocks pirates, and I'm not sure necessarily why. If she is a clone of Big Mom, then did they also need like Kuma's daughter's DNA too? Like we don't know enough about the process yet.
Yeah.
But that would absolutely make sense why Kuma doesn't want her to know, and went to these sorts of lengths. But I'm also incredibly Kuma's mysteries keep on stacking. Like, what is his goal right now? Trying to climb up to get to Mary Joie. We don't really know. I thought he was going to beeline it to Egghead Island, which so many characters in the One Piece world seem to be doing right now, leading into the Elder Star and his glorified shiny waiter, Kizaru.
Yeah. And it's funny because we were talking about My Hero earlier, and Horikoshi's doing some similar things with pacing here, where he's like showing us brief snippet of one thing and then jumping to another thing and stuff. But whereas I don't like it with My Hero, I do like it a lot with One Piece, and I think that's just because Oda has shown that he can justify that sort of pacing, where Horikoshi is not. So, it's I don't mean to dunk on My Hero overly much, but it's like Oda has shown time and time again that each of these brief snippets that he's showing will get fully paid off and get its due and come together nicely. Whereas I don't have that same faith with My Hero.
Except with Toga.
I don't have faith. I hope so. I hope so. But
we can hope.
I don't have the faith there.
That's literally what I think the last chapter of My Hero is called, Hopes.
Yeah, there you go. I got my hopes, but I don't have faith.
And just really quickly, just to read that thing from Oda. So at the end where he says, "Now we're almost done with the Wano country arc, and all the preparation work is ready. It took me 25 years to reach this point. Ha 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 ha. But it's still fine if you still read. But it's still fine if you start reading from here. From now on, this will be One Piece." Yeah,
I do remember that now, and reading that and being like, that was a weird thing to say.
Do we know if he's talking about like from here as in from here this chapter, or here as in like this point in time?
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was one of those things where is it Jump Festival where Oda like comes out and says hello and like puts out a statement?
I think this was before Jump
So it was.
I almost
so
think
this
it was
is-
like last year's.
So this was in Weekly Shonen Jump issue 34.
Yeah, I
So
think it was just
Oh,
like an
okay.
author's note. But
Okay.
I could interpret that as like it's fine if you start reading here like at this point in time. Like you don't have to have been here for the 25 years I've been doing it so far. You can just start now.
right.
Not as in like start at this very chapter, but start like reading the series now.
Oh, you think so?
Like it could be interpreted that way. I'm curious what the original Japanese was because that might make it more clear.
Well, because he says like from now on this will be One Piece, which is interesting. It's
Yeah.
like, so what was it before?
Yeah, no,
Let's
that
get
was
it
Two
started.
Piece.
Yeah.
No, that was the
Half-
prologue.
half
It's like the
piece.
first 100 chapters.
Yeah, this is the
prologue.
prologue.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
the prologue.
it's a similar sort of thing.
I'm done with half piece. Time to start on One Piece.
Yeah, the whole piece of the pie.
Yeah. Oh boy, that would be great if he. The sequel series is called Whole Piece.
If there is one. I mean, there probably will be, whether written by Oda or not, because
Oh,
you know
no, I
Naruto
hope
got
not.
Boruto. Oh, Bleach got nothing, so maybe.
Honestly, I'm surprised. I'm thinking Bleach could
Maybe-
keep on going. But...
Yeah, well, I mean, Burn the Witch is kind of in the same universe, I think, right?
Oh, really? Huh.
Oh yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't. I mean, it's not as regular as like
Uh,
Boruto is, but.
Absolutely. With Boruto, not to sidetrack, because I definitely want to get more into the Elder Stars and stuff like that. Boruto recently did a clone thing that I thought was a really interesting, cool twist. Is like, I did everything perfect. I cloned this person I wanted to clone, but when she came back, she was a total stranger. Like, she doesn't have that missing factor. And that seems to be something Vegapunk has possibly turned around. But we've got a lot of clone stuff to have explained.
I feel like Weevil is definitely missing something from Whitebeard.
Yeah. He is no Edward Newgate. That's true.
But I mean, we've been talking about One Piece for around 30 minutes now, so
true.
We should get better. We should get better at condensing in the future.
The conversation.
No, it's fine.
No, it's fine. I kind of that's why I chose One Piece last to talk about, because I
think we should have chosen One Piece first, just to make sure that we had to strictly keep it.
I got you
contained.
Well,
we could, as you said, we could go on about One Piece for hours.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll wrap it up. I wanted to get this one last huge revelation sort of thing out that we learned the identity, officially one of the names of the Elder Star that is on their way to Egghead Island, and also one of the only people who can overwrite the Seraphim control. Which, when Oda established that chain of command, we're like, well, no way that a world star would like show up, right? And that's exactly seems to be what happening. But Saint J. Garcia Saturn, the whole theories that are going around is that each one of the Elder Stars is actually back when Japanese language was created, the Gorisei, sei actually refers to planets, not just stars, because back then we didn't have the full understanding of how the solar system works. And back in the day, spoiler alert for people who don't know their history, but we happen to think that everything revolved around Earth. So the Saturn, all the major planets that were revolving around us are all revolving around Earth. So many people now think that Eem, the king of all, the king of the world, is actually like supposed to represent Earth, or the spirit of the sea, essentially. When actually we learned that everything revolves around the sun. And who represents the sun now, and the sun god, and all those things, the truth of the world, the freedom of the universe, and stuff like that, is all, being hidden away. Void Century, we don't know what happened specifically then, but it's like the world powers want us to still believe that everything revolves around Earth, Eem, essentially. So all these world stars are each represent one of these planets, and they're trying to represent the world order and keep the sun god suppressed and all that stuff. It's just so many things from one little bubble and one name. It just all relates to that. So I that
it's
that
why
was my
One
rant.
Piece is just like why Oda's like on another level, right?
Mhm.
Like it's just insane how much he packs into things, and like it's wild. It's just and even without this, like One Piece works on so many different like levels, just artistically and entertainment wise. Like you can just take it as it is on its surface level as a fun action series, and it's great there. You can take it at deeper, like it's just. I mean, there's a reason it's my favorite manga, and this is why. So
Absolutely. Well, yeah, again, we could probably talk about those revelations for a lot longer, but I guess we'll wrap it up here. But again, thank you guys for chiming in. And Steven, even though it's not your favorite, I enjoyed having you here to bounce our thoughts off of, because
Yeah.
you're an interesting perspective in the One Piece world.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode of Mega Manga Monday. Please let us know in the comments some bits that you think we missed. I would love to hear some of your all theories as well, related to not just One Piece, but Chainsaw Man, My Hero Academia, or if there's other series that you were just dying to hear our opinions on, let us know. Feel free to reach out to us and follow us on Twitter at Manga Mondays. But we're going to be doing just the visual podcast from now on YouTube. So I hope you enjoy that. Just plugging real quick. I also have another series called Honzy and Friends. I do comedic Let's Play videos, playing video games with friends. Please subscribe to that on YouTube as well. I would appreciate it. But Ben, any plugs or recommendations today, bud?
yeah. In terms of recommendations, I think I may have recommended it on our last podcast, but that was a while ago. But Vinland Saga is back for season 2. Great show.
Is
Speaking
it
of
meeting your
series-
expectations?
oh, it's exceeding my expectations.
Good,
Season
good,
2 has
good.
been superb.
And again, Ben and I disagree on this.
Well,
Oh, wow.
you just need to reach season 2, I guess. But like, if you're not enjoying season 1, you might not. The series might not be for you. But Vinland Saga is just great. Best show of the season by far.
Oh boy,
Not even close. And in terms of plugs, I have a YouTube channel of my own, as I mentioned earlier, YGO from Zero. I go over historical formats of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. So if that interests you, definitely check it out.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to have that stuff in the description as well, so please check that out. Steven, any plugs or recommendations today, bud?
Yeah, man, I'll just say that the last few weeks, I've just been in Junji Ito land. Ever since his new collection came out, I've just scarfed that down. Then I watched the other collection that was adapted. Wow, adapted. and now I'm just like reading all of the his different mangas. So it's I'm just in Junji land. I can't get out. I've been trying to watch other things, but at night, like
You're stuck in the
down,
spiral.
I'm just like, I need more Junji. I need more Junji. So
You can't escape the spiral.
I know I'm in it. It is. It's kind of scary. It's like, am I in one of his stories right now?
Yeah.
Is that Uzumaki?
Yes, that's Uzumaki. Yeah.
Okay. Because that's one of those things like, oh, what's this Naruto story? And I opened it up, I'm like, oh god, Databayo.
And there's also there's all these live action adaptations too of just Uzumaki as well.
But are
and
they
there's
good?
The ones of Tomie, which was like his first short story, and he's made it into this thing. Like, oh man, I'm lost in his world right now. I'm loving it.
Awesome. We'll again check in the description for more details on all of that. Yeah, I think we'll go and wrap up this episode of Mega Manga Mondays. We'll be definitely doing it again next week. Hopefully, I know some chapters are taking a break, so we'll see what we've got to talk about. But
One Piece should be back.
I hope. I really hope. Oh man, I don't know. We might have to talk about Black Clover too.
One Piece. Well, I mean, if we need more series to talk about, Akane Banashi's been great yet. Jujutsu Kaisen's been great. Sakamoto Date's going into a new arc. I mean, I could go on about some of the lessons.
So many
Undead Unluck.
things
We gotta
other
do.
than
I want you to
Blackburn.
read Undead Unluck, Ben. I
I'll
want
catch
you to
up
read
to.
that.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll start it today. It's only 145 chapters. That should.
So
Yeah.
here, you read that, and I'll catch up on Sakamoto days. I'll do
Yeah,
that.
no, you should. Yeah,
Let's do it.
All
I'm
right.
down for
It's-
that. Yeah.
It's starting here. We'll check back next episode to see if these guys are keeping up on their words.
Oh, yeah.
I myself have gotten about 15 chapters into Undead Unluck, and it is very good. It's very
Yes.
enjoyable. So,
Yes.
But is it a Sakamoto Days level good? I mean,
I have not started that, so we'll see. But
Sakamoto Days, I think, is the best fights in Jump. I'll say that. before
oh
we
wow,
close off.
okay,
I just love it. You have all these like big things like boom, take that.
boom. All right, gentlemen. Well, thanks again for your time and thoughts, and I look forward to the next one.
Yeah. See y'all then.
Peace.